Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another Eurovision 2023 interview here on the channel. Of course, my name is Connor, and today I'm joined by someone who's got a lot to celebrate. It's Gustaph from Belgium. Gustaph, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. It's early morning here. I say early. It's 8:30. It's not that early.
It's pretty
Um
early. It's pretty early.
it's a little early to be like, okay, and camera ready.
I,
Because my
I,
day literally started 30 minutes ago.
I understand completely. I'm with you.
Well, I wanted to ask you, speaking of filming and things like that, I noticed yesterday on your Instagram that the BBC posted kind of that snippet of your postcard filming.
Yes.
Um, so I wanted to ask you, what was it like to do kind of that postcard filming? And then we also saw a snippet of your husband in that clip as well. Is he going to be a part of that postcard filming?
Yes. Yes, he will be. Yes. We wanted to just do something because my husband is my photographer, my videographer. He's like my creative sidekick and everything. And we wanted to do something that was truthful. So we were, because you have to do something that shows who you are in these postcards. And we thought, well, let's just do a photo shoot. And we actually used the pictures to put on the Eurovision website. So it was like a double whammy in that sense. And I just wanted to show us being creative together in front of the Atomium, which is one of the most, iconic buildings in Belgium, in Brussels. And we kind of also worked on some nice outfits by Walter van Beirendonck, who's a Belgian designer I work with, and he had some beautiful like retro futuristic outfits, and they worked very well with the retro vibe of the Atomium. So it all worked out. But yeah, and I have to say I'm quite proud that I get to showcase my husband in front of Europe and the whole world.
I mean, you're right. It is quite the audience.
Yes.
And I love there was a meme going around yesterday. Someone had taken a snippet of your postcard recording. I think it was the tail end of it. And it said, "See you in the Eurovision finals." And someone put and said, "He knows.
I
He already
know,
knows."
and that was yeah. I saw that too. That's hilarious. I'm having a good old time with Twitter lately. Seriously, they are so fun. Seriously, there's some good jokes on there. I love it. But well, that was really a mistake. Meaning that was really something I said without really thinking. So just to be clear, I didn't pay off someone a huge amount of money, or I didn't have to give my firstborn to Satan to get into the finals or something. It's just a little slip of the tongue.
Sure, sure. Well,
But
I mean, I think
nonetheless, it would be lovely to manifest going to the final in that sense. That could be a nice little thing.
correct. No, I agree with you. I think it is good to manifest, but I think it's also some great additional content to what we would perhaps call the Gustav iceberg, on top of the meme reactions of you reacting to winning at Eurosong. Just, you are just the gift that keeps on
I
memeing.
know, and I embrace it fully. Honestly, I really do.
Well, I also wanted to ask you, of course, we talked about fashion here. Eurovision fans who either know you from Belgium and from your kind of career pre-Eurosong, and also the people who randomly found you when you either participated or won.
Yes,
Um, I feel like I've never seen you recently without a hat. So I
right.
wanted to ask you, approximately how many hats do you own? And what is
Yes.
it about hats that you love so much?
Well, I think I'm getting close to because of now is that any excuse to buy clothes and to buy accessories is now because I'm in Eurovision. I need to buy this. So well, I'm probably be bankrupt by the time we get to Liverpool, but it's all good. I'll look good while I'm not paying my rent.
Right.
But I think I'm close to 40, 50 hats. But that includes caps and beanies and all that kind of stuff. So it is a passion of mine. I've always been wearing hats on stage. I think it started because I was touring with Hercules and Love Affair, and we had to sometimes go literally from the plane to the gig. And when you have a bad hair day, you've been sleeping on the plane. It's just sometimes to me, I bought one nice hat. That's how it started, and it just was a great way to like pump up an outfit without having to work too much. So it was kind of laziness as well for me to develop this obsession with hats because I didn't worry about my hair anymore. And I just think it's a great tool to use. I think it looks good on me. And I also, of course, knew this will be a recognition point, and I do realize it's also something have to take into consideration when you're entering something as big as this Eurovision Song Contest. And I started already with the national finals. I was like, I'm going to always wear a hat, so people have something that they can look forward to and that they can recognize.
Fair enough. And I feel like you're going to be hard to miss in Liverpool because, I mean, I don't know. I've never been to Liverpool. I know that you have, and we'll get to it.
Yes.
But I feel like large brim hats aren't in fashion in Liverpool. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. So I feel like people might like walking around, they'll be like, oh, there goes Gustaph. There goes Gustaph. Like you're going to be found very quickly when you're walking around.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. You think so? It's true. It's true. Yeah, I mean, it's just a recognition point, and if that helps, it was because we got recognized in Liverpool as well by someone on the bus, and she actually jumped out of the bus to say hi. So that was a tad hysterical, but it's fine.
Yeah. Well, and I guess I'll go ahead and ask that question now. So, again, I spent a lot of time yesterday on your Instagram page, just poking through things and seeing what you've been up to. And I
Right.
saw, I feel like it was maybe last week, give or take. It was when you posted the content last week
Right.
for your Liverpool trip,
Right.
which from my understanding and research, I feel like you maybe are the only artist who has been able to make it out to Liverpool pre-contest.
I
Um,
Yes, I think
yeah.
the only one that did it recently was Joker Out. That's the act from Slovenia. They
Hmm.
recently went to Liverpool for a promo trip as well. But I was the first for I think. Yeah, I think.
Gotcha. So do you feel like because I know that you kind of, I guess, already have a little bit of a leg up with some of our artists who have been to Eurovision before and you kind of know at least the background circus of Eurovision. Do you feel like also having a familiarity with the host city kind of makes this a little less stressful and chaotic?
It's a good question. Maybe in the sense that I know what the city is like, and it won't be maybe that much of a distraction anymore because you have to find out where stuff is and how the city works. I think that's something I already dealt with. But I don't think for the rest that should play a very big part. The city itself. I think what plays a bigger part when it comes to like, having an advantage is maybe that I already went twice to Eurovision as a backing vocalist, and I've seen the beast from the inside out. I know how stuff works. I think that's something that I think is an advantage more in my case.
Yeah. Although technically, if you ask yourself, I think you say that you technically haven't been to Eurovision. This is the official Gustaph tour to Eurovision.
Right. This is true. This is true. This is true.
You have been at Eurovision twice.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Well, I wanted to take this on maybe on a quick detour because I wanted to ask you, I think, one of my favorite questions to ask Eurovision artists. Of course, I think we all read the Eurovision artist page, people read the Wikipedia page, but I think there's a lot of information about you that we don't know. So I wanted to ask you, what are maybe one or two or three things that our listeners right now would be surprised to learn about you? Maybe talents, hobbies, obsessions, things like that.
Well, what I can tell you is that I think I pride myself. That's like a hidden thing. Is like I pride myself in being a good host, and I think an okay cook. And I think I love having people around at the house, and you will never be thirsty or hungry in my house. It's something that my family is exactly the same, and it's something that I enjoy continuing the tradition of not of feeding and feeding and getting people drunk. So I think I'm a good host in that sense. And for the rest, yeah, I love, yeah. Maybe you can say that maybe it's good for the Greek audience that me and my husband are completely Greek obsessed people, and we go each year. This year maybe we won't make it, but we travel a lot in Greece, and our ultimate fantasy is to maybe because of Eurovision, you never know, make enough money to buy a little something, a little house somewhere in Greece as like an extra retreat. And I think
Hmm.
that's kind of it. There's no. I think that's kind of it. Yeah, that's maybe all two little things that are not known. Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's good information. Hopefully, because I know that you've said in another interview that like when you get to Eurovision, you're just going to be fangirling over all of the other artists.
Yes.
Perhaps link up with Victor and see what his recommendations are. Should you go later this year or in the future, what you
Yeah.
haven't done that he thinks you should.
Exactly. Exactly. That's a very good, good thing to do. Because I've been talking to him on Instagram. He's a lovely guy, Victor. I think he was the first one who ever reached out to me after I
Hmm.
got through the national final. So, and he's 16 years old. That's insane.
I know the youngest, both the youngest artists in this contest, and also that Greece has ever sent in the
Right.
contest. I find that fascinating
Yes.
because I feel like 16-year-olds aren't that uncommon, but I mean Belgium in particular, having sent
Sandra Kim. Sandra Kim.
yes, thank you, and she was it 14 when
She
she
said
won?
she sang j'ai 15 ans, but she was actually third, which means 15 in French, but she was actually 13. They lied.
Right, right. I was like, I remember this whole. I am full of random Eurovision facts that help me in no way, shape, or form in America.
But it
So,
does, yeah.
uh,
Well, it helps you here. It helps you here. Come to Europe. You'll be fine.
I wish. I mean, I will be there in Liverpool, so perhaps if we
Oh,
have,
nice.
yeah, if we have like bar trivia for Eurovision, I don't know. Maybe I'll win something.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay, we'll kind of maybe skirt back over to Eurovision just a little bit. So I remember again on Instagram, you had really talked about your first song, "Gonna Lose You."
Yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you had talked a lot about how, of course, with the music video and the way that they were trying to portray you,
right.
um, that it didn't feel true to you. It didn't fit your musical style. And so we've kind of taken this big swing. If you're following, if you that was your first and only reference point to
Right.
2023, it's a massive
Right.
swing over to the dance and electronic genre.
Right.
So I wanted to ask, what is it about these kind of styles and genres of music that kind of resonate with you so much as an artist?
Very good question. And I did think about that a couple of times. I think it's because the funny thing is, often because of you, for example, I get a lot of great response from the UK and the US. But then when you think about it, it makes sense because, especially US, because the sort of music that I'm harking back to, the retro vibe that I'm portraying, is inspired by music that is deeply rooted in American tradition and American musical tradition, meaning house
Mhm.
music was really created in Detroit and Chicago. And same goes for the era of music that ballroom culture started late 80s. I mean, it's been there forever, but like the Paris is Burning prime of it all was late 80s, early 90s when people were dancing to that kind of music. And I think for me, because I was born in the 80s, so I grew up with the video era. You know, everything you wanted to know was through the video.
Mhm.
So when I was about, I think, 10, 11 years old, like early 90s, you saw a lot of these kind of like Crystal Waters, CeCe Peniston, Martha Wash, a lot of Juliet Roberts, a lot of great singers who sang this kind of like very joyous, beautiful four to the floor music. And something resonated with me as a small boy because I was a gay boy. And I'm sure a lot of gay boys are the same thing as me, where it's like there's something about a four to the floor and a woman hitting a high note that just sends you over the hill.
Yep.
Uh, and so that's I think that's really that explanation for. I fell in love with that music when I was that young, and it's very funny that I have quite a broad career, meaning I've done a lot of genres, a lot of different types of artists. But in all honesty, that is really where I go back to every time, to that era of music, because it's just something about there's something so empowering about that music. Even if you don't understand what people are singing, you do get a sense of pride. You get a sense of resilience that comes over you for some reason. And I think that's a very intuitive thing that that genre just commands.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you brought up ballroom culture because, of course, as an American and a drag race stan,
Yes.
I know okay, I'm not an expert. I am not Laomi in ballroom culture, but I at least know a little bit. And I know that I think one of the most common questions you probably receive in press is, let's talk about your Eurovision staging.
Right.
And you can't really tell us a lot, but I wanted to ask, you have a lot of ballroom duck walking and handography and things like that in that music video. So I
Right.
wanted to ask, could we possibly see, for what I think is the first time ever, or would be the first time ever, some possible voguing in Eurovision?
Well, you just have to stay tuned, my friend. That's all I can say at this point.
Okay. Okay. I don't mind that answer because that doesn't tell me no.
Mhm.
So, okay. Okay. I mean,
But
you
yeah,
have the space for it. So,
yes. Yeah, and what I have to say also, because that doesn't it doesn't say anything about the stage, but for sure the visuals we're going to use, like the video clip, we're going to stay true to the form of the video, where we were incorporating elements of drag culture and elements of ballroom culture. I just want to make sure when I portray something on the stage, I want to be very clear about that, is I really want to work from the community itself. I just don't want to impose myself into a culture that is not my own. So this is why we're very maybe like to try just one thing, that just make that clear, that if we're going to use anything or anyone, it will be someone who will be of the culture. It won't just be a dance, which is fine. I'm not saying that that you can't do a duck walk. And you don't have to be of a house to duck walk, but if we would do something like this, it will be someone from the culture.
Right. No, and I think that that's really important because, of course, if you know Laomi, Laomi is known to read and rip people to shreds for nogging, as she calls it.
Yes, exactly. And
so,
I want to make that very clear. There will be absolutely no type of voguing that I will ever do on stage. If something will happen, it won't be me doing a duck walk.
But Gustaph, I think that is possibly qualification terms right there.
Well, I'm afraid I would break a hip on stage. It would get me sympathy votes, that's for sure. But apart from that, I don't think it's a very good move on my part.
Fair enough. We could do that kind of in our own home, off to the side, off camera. I got it.
Exactly.
Well, I also wanted to ask you, Gustaph, about the message of your song. I think that the information out there of like the message and the inspiration of the song is already out there. So if the readers or the listeners are like, well, what is the song about? Please go check out a lot of other things, a lot of other interviews. It's out there.
Yes.
I wanted to take this question in a little bit of a spin, because with the message of the song being about celebrating who you are and who's made you who you are.
Yes.
Who has made Gustaph who he is today?
Oh, that's a very good question. That's a combination of family and chosen family. And in my case, first off, it's just the truth. It's my mother and father and my brother, because I came out of the womb like ta-da, I'm here. And this was another time. This is like early 80s when I was born. So my parents and I grew up in quite a small village with, a village type of, way of thinking. But my parents had no reference from me, but they embraced me nonetheless. And they just made me feel very safe in who I was. And I was dressing up and impersonating Madonna and dancing and performing everywhere I could. And they just encouraged me to keep doing it and to have, and they also saw the talent that I had. They also knew, but I think this kid's going to be able to sing later, like, because I was vocalizing, all that kind of stuff. And they just gave me, what I take from that is they gave me a core and about who I was, and a core about work ethic that still is with me to this day, and that still made me the person I am today. And especially growing up, when I got to go to college and met other gay men, it became apparent to me, like, oh, I really lucked out, because then you hear the stories of, my parents dropped me, or they're not talking to me, or I can't go back home. So that really was very informative for me to realize, like, I really took this for granted, because it's really quite amazing what they did there. And then the other thing is, because of you, with the you, it also stands for kind of the chosen family. And the great thing about what we're doing in Liverpool is you'll literally see a translation of that theme on stage, because I'm going to bring 3 backing vocalists to the stage. So Monique Hark and Michelle Kashala, they were there already, and now Sandrine Van Anderhoven is going to be there as well. And these are my 3 best friends. These are people I've known for 20 years, and I talk to all the time, and we have birthday dinners, we meet up all the time. So it's really a celebration of the song on stage. And then, the last but not least is my husband, who is my creative director and who is a visual designer for me. And he's right there next to the stage with me. He'll be with me in the green room, and we're waiting for the results and all that kind of stuff. So these are people that really shaped me into who I am. And the great thing is that, I have both. Because I think a lot of queer people, unfortunately, and I think especially historically, have had to find their own tribe. And that makes us as queer people very strong, I believe, because we took care of each other when no one else would take care of us. And I think that's something I really feel that legacy when I sing the song. And I want to, in a way, when I'm singing the song, I'm also thinking about those people and thanking them for trailblazing in that sense, and giving all of us room to work and to live differently within the restrictions of those kind of family ideas. So yeah, those are the people that made me who I am today, and they're on stage with me, so that's lovely.
Yeah, I think that that's great because, of course, Eurovision, and you know this, you've been there, is a stressor, especially when you are, I think, going through that live show process and especially waiting for the qualifications and who's gonna, whatever. But also you have kind of that extremely tight knit support system, not just people who are around you who you've been working with, to get there, but the people who know who you are, who you trust, who you have that really good rapport with. I think that's going to be at least amazing for you. I think it's going to allow you to hopefully enjoy every single moment of this process. Because I think, as I told Andrew, you can always go to Eurovision again, but you can't go back to Eurovision for the first time as
No,
an
it's
artist.
true. That's very true. That's very true.
Yeah, I know, my wise sage words of wisdom. So,
Yes, yes. Thank you for that. It's a good moment. Very good.
well, I wanted to give you one final question. Now, this is one of my hardest hitting questions,
Okay.
but it's also the most fun.
Okay.
So of course, we talking about other artists. There are 36 other artists and bands who will be with you in Liverpool. And as a songwriter, if you had the opportunity to work on a new single with any of them, who would you pick to work with and why?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, there are two because yeah, I'll just say one because otherwise this will never end. We'll be here like for hours. But because I love a lot of artists this year, and especially now I got to know some of them. But I have to say, for years, 10 years already, I've been a huge fan of Loreen, and I think once Euphoria hit, I kept following her, and I followed her albums and her career afterwards. I think she's done tremendous work between these two periods where she's competing in Eurovision. And I think, yeah, I think there's. I love her voice. I love the emotive power of her voice, and it would be an honor to write for someone with that kind of voice and that kind of intensity in her voice. Plus, I'm sure she's a very, very well-rounded musician, a very well-rounded person as well. When she talks, you can tell that she really knows what she's doing. So I think
Mm-hmm.
writing with her will be very informative for me as a songwriter. I would probably pick up a lot of new things by working with her. So I'll say that because I'm such a fangirl. I'll take the Loreen spin. But there are a lot of people I would like to work with. And I think this year is a very strong artistic year.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's also again, I'll give some advice of what I've been giving other artists. It's always okay for you to do a Eurovision collaboration album, and I would be the first in line to buy it. So,
That's actually a
you
very
know,
good idea. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I told Tay and Selena, I was like, if you do that, you've got like 3 albums lined up already of
That's true.
just
And
12 tracks.
there's a public waiting for it always. That's the great thing about Eurovision crowds. That's the beauty of the Eurovision thing. How there's such a great community that always is responsive to these things, for sure.
Very true. Well, we will just, I guess, hang tight on what is to come, possibly after Liverpool. We'll just manifest some nice little
Yes,
collaborations out
exactly,
there.
exactly.
Um, but all right, well, Gustaph, I want to be thankful of your time. For those who are watching, of course, make sure that you check out his social media, check out on YouTube and Spotify. Make sure that you are following so you know what's coming down his pipeline, release wise, single wise, album wise, everything like that. And then, of course, if you want to support our channel and hang on to our journey, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, the notification bell, and the like button. It's going to help us get our content out there in the world. And worst case, make sure that you are in the, I guess, in the know for what we're going to be doing when we get to Liverpool here in just a few weeks. It's crazy to think that we're already almost there. But until then, I'm going to leave you all with a great old goodbye.